Welcome to the Group Home Riches Podcast. If you have the desire to be your own boss, create your own schedule, and become financially free while at the same time helping people in need, then you've come to the right place. At grouphomeriches.com, we teach people exactly like yourself how to get started in the group home business. And on this podcast, you're going to hear their stories firsthand. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Group Home Riches Podcast. Today's guest, we have someone fresh off of our coaching program who is rocking and rolling and is set up to have an absolute killer year. She's one of the superstars from our school group, and it's just been a pleasure to watch her get her business off the ground here, working with our coaches. Simy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting us today. I'm looking forward to sharing our story.
Well, we've gotten a small glimpse of it here on the intro. I'm excited to hear the full details, and I'm sure people will get a ton of motivation from it. We also have your son and operational manager on the call. Jose, welcome.
It's a pleasure. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you. And then we have the founder of Group Home Riches, Mr. Andy Rothschild. Andy, welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone.
So to kick things off, Simy, why don't you just give us an intro? Let us know a little bit about your background, where you're from, and what got you into this? What made you even look for group home stuff and find Group Home Riches on the internet?
Okay. Well, I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan originally, but I am now in Atlanta, Georgia. My mom moved us from Michigan to Georgia. Thank you, Jesus. And before diving into real estate, my husband and we own several businesses. So we own an auto body repair shop and a movie production company. And I know most people are like, how did y'all blend the two? But he was already into auto body, and I was already deeply involved in acting and writing. So with my background in accounting, I kind of took interest in his business. He became involved in my industry, and we kind of just meshed the two, made them work. And what happened was in around 2010, I lost some family members, and I ended up inheriting some real estate. And we already had a home that we lived in. So I knew that I wasn't going to live in a home. So we decided to rent it out. And because we had these other businesses and we were raising a family, it wasn't feasible for me to do any of the property management or anything like that. So we hired a property management company, which of course cut into the profits, but it did give us some peace of mind that we didn't have to get those phone calls, in the middle of the night about the toilet and things like that. The problem with that is that we were only making a couple $100 a month. And say like last year we had to put a roof on that house, and the insurance, they paid a little bit, but we still had to come out of our pocket like $5,000. So there kind of went that year's profits in a nutshell. And, when the family moves out, you have to put thousands of dollars in it to fix up the place. So I just knew that there had to be a better route to go. And I've always wanted to get into affordable housing. So I didn't know what I was going to do. So I just kind of dove in. I kind of took classes, courses, mentorships in buying land, buying tax liens, foreclosures. I got certified in building new construction homes, you name it. And we did it. And so we started doing some fix and flips, but nothing was really sticking. And the market changed, interest rates went up, and houses started sitting on the market. So it wasn't really feasible for us to really continue to try to do any type of new construction with no real plan on, what was going to happen if no one purchased that house besides Section 8 and being right back in the same situation that we were in with the rental house that we already had. So every morning, Brandon, around 5 o'clock, every morning I get up and I meditate on being grateful and on things I want to manifest in my life. I create vision boards. I write my visions down. And one morning, God told me that the fulfillment that I was seeking was in the community and that it was through housing. And so I'm like, well, I'm already in housing. So I really wasn't sure where we were going with that because that really wasn't working, what we were doing. And that same day, a friend of mine who's a lender who we had did a couple deals with, he called and, he started talking to me about how he wanted to provide housing for aged out foster care youth and that he knew a guy who had a reentry program in Alabama and that he was housing individuals that were coming out of incarceration. And he suggested that maybe I look into, group homes since I was already doing fix and flips, that maybe that would be a better route for me to go. And then he started, giving me a few numbers. And that night he texted me the Group Home Riches website and some of the podcasts. And so I was intrigued. So I started studying the Group Home Riches. I took the free course, which was very informative. I started listening to all the podcasts and I just really got inspired and it all began to make total sense to me that this is the route that I would want to go. So once I figured that out, then I said, okay, now I got to bring the family in on it because they're kind of used to me coming up with stuff and saying, hey, I'm going to do this, but never, we're going to do this. So first I sat my husband down with the whiteboard. I kind of started showing him the numbers that I got from you all and how we could make more of a profit and serve the people. And he was good. So then I got my sons together, Jose, who's on the call, and my other son, Drell. I took them upstairs. I pulled out a whiteboard and I showed them the plans of, how we could get to 20 houses and the profit that we could make as a family and that I needed their help. And so, they got really excited because my son, Jose, he already works as a front desk manager at, some big hotel chains. So he's familiar with dealing with people, managing housekeeping and things like that. And my other son, he's over admissions at Strayer University. So I said, okay, he will be perfect, to do admissions because he's kind of already doing them. And my stepdaughter, her husband is military, so she's very familiar with contacting people at the VA. So it kind of just all came together to apply those knowledge and skills. And last year in 2023, I opened up Harbor Halo. So the thing was, I knew that even with all this going on, that everybody had jobs, we had other businesses, and there was no way in the world I was going to be able to make all those calls and connections. And I just felt like I needed more help. So that's when I decided to enroll in the Done For You program. And it kind of just took off from there.
Beautiful. So I just want to rewind a little bit back to the meditation day when it hit
Yes.
you got that the message, I guess you'll say that it was going to be community based and real estate based. Did you say that you had that call or that lead on the very same day?
The same day.
Let's
Yes.
go.
The very same day. And it was such a blessing because I'm like, I'm already doing housing and it's not working.
Had you done any type of research into it before, or was that like the first time you had kind of heard about it?
That's the first time that I had ever heard about the group home model. I knew nothing about it. Even when he was speaking about how he wanted to do the aged out foster care, I was just like, okay, I'm really not sure what you're talking about, but I'm listening.
Well, look, we do Google ads, we do a lot of email marketing, we do Facebook and stuff. But Andy, I think this is our first client that we've gotten via divine intervention.
I love it.
Mind if I chime in there?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So to piggyback off what she said and about how things just happen, the whole idea that I'm in hospitality already before she got into it was all by like luck of by chance, by us being manifestors. Because my story starts off where I was pretty much unemployed back in 2017. And one of my mom's friends used to work over at the stadium, which used to be called Truist Park. Well, it's called Truist Park now. It used to be called SunTrust Stadium. And she got me a job over there as a supervisor, which I already had some management experience from when I was at Alorica. And so I just worked over there for 2 years, helping out with like parking vehicles and things at the stadium. And what happened was in 2019, when they started to hire like a lot of people for the stadium, we used to conduct our interviews over at a Hilton that was right outside the stadium. So I got chosen as one of the supervisors who was supposed to go over there and interview the people. And these weren't actually like real interviews because they were kind of getting a job long as they came like dressed up or nice, because the stadium just needed people. They just needed bodies at the time. So it wasn't really hiring for quality. But I used to go over there and I used to take full advantage of the interviews and like make them really fun and, really interactive and things like that. And they say I used to get the best out of people. Like some people that used to be kind of quiet and didn't really want to talk that much. And I would get them to talk and like open up and show their personalities. So the GM, because we used to do our interviews in their ballroom for the DoubleTree, the GM used to come in and sit in on my interviews and stuff, and he used to grab his AGM, and they would come just watch, and they were just so entertained by how I used to interview because I didn't have to really do that because the people were going to get the job anyway. So when at the end of 2019, they ended up the front office manager that was at that property ended up leaving, and with me being close to the GM, he came to me one day while after I finished the interview, and he was like, "Hey, we got a position opening for the front desk, and I think you would be a great fit. I like the way you interview, and I know that you haven't been in hotels before, but you have a really good knack for this type of thing when it comes to like speaking to people." And I was like, like I said, I don't have any hotel experience, but I'm willing to give it a try. I do have some management experience, and that's what I come from. So he gave me an opportunity, and I dealt with like the pros and cons of being a manager coming in from. I didn't go to school for hospitality. I didn't start off as a front desk agent and then work my way up. So it came with the gripes and stuff of people not really respecting my position and things like that. So that came with some growing pains. But what happened about 6 months after I got hired was the pandemic. And the pandemic sent everybody home. The hotel closed for about 3 months, and then it opened back up, and they brought only the salary managers back, and all of the hourly associates had to stay home for like another year. So for that entire year, I was pretty much working as a front desk agent because we were the only ones that can work. And I got all the experience of what it was like to actually get into the mind of being a front desk agent. And that's literally my story of how I got into hospitality. And I just been in it now ever since. And I've grown from that. And I took that experience and ran with it. And now that my mom, she presented me her plan, and I felt like, God put me in this place to where I got into hospitality so that I can be a great asset to this company and give her that operations field and customer service field where I'm going to be out there speaking with all our tenants and greeting them and giving them really good customer service. And I kind of feel like that was great for me that I got into that field. And same thing with my brother, with him being in admissions, and then how I just came for him, and now he's actually, doing the one with the interviews and getting all the resumes and stuff like that. And that's just his field. God put him in that place, and now he's an asset to the company as well. So it makes me really proud that I didn't really have direction back in 2017, and I just took an opportunity that I saw and I ran with it, and it ended up having like a bigger payoff than what I could have ever imagined. Now that I'm helping out with this company.
Yeah, the thing with hospitality is that you really just have to be good with people.
Exactly.
It's tough to like teach and like put in something that's tough to put in a manual, and that is probably the number one skill you're going to have be running the operations with the the shared housing model, is just being able to read people, see who's going to get along with who, etc. Andy, we still have you, right?
Yep.
You want to kind of touch on that for folks out there that are wondering, what is an operational manager? Why don't you touch on that and kind of how important it is to be able to just be good with people to run the
Yeah, I
operation
think
day-to-day
I
stuff.
think more than anything, you're building families is what you're doing.
Exactly.
You're building families. If you've got a 4-bedroom house, it's got 2 baths. You got to be able to understand personalities because you're going to have 8 people, give or take, living in that property. So will those 8 people get along with one another? Because at the end of the day, you don't want people moving in and moving out. You're looking for more consistency. It's just going to make your life easier. It's going to make your business more profitable. So what we did is, and what we like to do, number one, male, female. So they've got to be separated. And then after that, we do it by age range, just because it's easier. So we'll have our 18 to 25-year-old crowd, kind of our 25, middle-aged crowd, and then we'll have our elderly crowd. That's pretty much how we run things.
I like that. See, in our duplex right now, it is co-ed, but the plan is once we open up the one next door, we want to move the females to that one and keep the males in
Yep, that's
the
smart.
other one. Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So for
yeah.
folks out there, it's one of our common questions like, hey, what's your intake process like? And it's really it's I wish we had a more detailed answer, but Andy's operational managers really just interview people and see where they're going to get along. So,
Yeah.
yeah, if for folks out there wanting to get into this business, if you're not necessarily good with people or anything like that, you're definitely going to want to find somebody like Jose that you can put on your team.
I
Absolutely.
appreciate that, sir.
So, all right,
Absolutely.
so let's rewind a little bit. So, when the meditation day, approximately when was that? How long ago are we talking about?
So the meditation day was September of 2023. And
All
so
right,
when I
so
say, yeah, when I say I
it hasn't
dove
even been
in,
a year yet.
no, it just, I got goosebumps when I started reading, the material, because you guys
Mhm.
have a very robust, just free information. It's amazing. And I just got goosebumps and I said, yeah, this is what it was. And I opened up, like I said, in November of 2023, but I just knew I needed more. I knew that I needed, that hands-on, walk me through. If I see it, I can do it type person. So, I thought about it for a while. I really did. Like, oh, do I want to do it for you, or am I going to do done for you? And I just, you guys had a call one day. I jumped on and I said, that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and contact them. I'm gonna have to do the done for you.
Saves a lot of time, right?
It does. It does. And Terrence and Medell and the whole thing with making that first call, because as I said, my background is in dealing with people, but it was very nerve-wracking to think that I'm gonna have to call someone and say, hey, I have this new company. We got beds. Do you have clients? I
Yeah.
just wasn't sure how that was gonna work. And so Terrence kind of held my hand. The organization part of it, of calling the organizations, that happened very quickly. It was like as soon as those emails started going out, people started calling. They
Yep.
The phone was ringing. Medell's like, hey, you got another one, you got another interview, you got another interview. And it was just being able to have someone to say, because Terrence led those first couple of calls. And my very first one, and he said it was okay, but he said I sounded like I was reading a script. Like he really just walked me through how to really just tell my story and be authentic. He said, because there's nothing that you have to, you're not lying about anything. So you don't have to sound like you're reading a script, just kind of tell your story. And then eventually, after I think maybe the fourth one, he said, okay, now this next one you're going to conduct. And that was the scariest one. You're
Oh,
going to you're going to conduct it. I'm just going to, kind of sit there and listen in. And it went well. I'm just glad that I had that guidance. And for me, it really wasn't about the organization. That to me, that was like the easier part. The harder part for me was obtaining the property because I didn't really know which route we were going to go. And so I kind of started off wanting to buy a home, and we went through a couple of different contracts. We went through some inspections. Jose, I know you remember, we went to one house. It was beautiful. And then
yep.
we got the inspection report back, and it had rats and squirrels in the attic.
Oh,
And then,
man.
yeah, then there was another one where 2 days before closing, the contract fell through. And I'm still talking to these organizations, like, and they're like, hey, we want to come see the place. And I'm like, ugh, I don't really have anything. So I just started manifesting that I'm going to get a place. And Terrence, the entire time, he was like, don't give up, go network, go out to these networking events, talk to people, tell them what you're doing. And that's kind of what I did. And a friend introduced me to the lady who her and her husband, they build multi-million-dollar homes and they do Airbnb, but they're kind of tired of managing. They just want to build. And she was more than happy once I used the Group Home Riches script and sold her on the model of being able to help people and house people and how we would do the property management. You don't have to worry about the toilets or anything like that. Only if the air conditioner breaks, okay, then I'm gonna call you. She was in. And that's kind of how we acquired our first property. So it was a journey, but it was a good learning experience for me as well. And to already have organizations set up with clients, because our first client came from one of the organizations that we contacted in January.
Yeah, that's pretty much the blueprint that we teach everybody, whether you're gold course member, coaching client, done for you client, or even if you're just going through our free stuff and you want to start, the very first steps that Simmie just outlined is what we recommend most people to do is to network with local organizations, like social service organizations, nonprofits, places like that. Simmie, do you want to give just kind of an inside glimpse to people? Maybe this is like the first podcast that they're listening to when we say, Terrence is doing meetings with organizations. What does that mean? Why don't you give them an inside glimpse into what is that like? Who are the organizations? What do they do?
Okay.
Paint the picture for them a little bit.
Okay. So let's take, for instance, there's an organization, let's say the Salvation Army. That when we had the call with the Salvation Army, there was probably about 5 people on the call. So what happens is once they accept the invitation for Zoom to learn more about our company, then Terrence comes up and he talks about how he's the manager for the company, and that we're looking to open up some homes in the area, and we're looking for people that have boots on the ground that are already servicing the client that we're looking to house. And then he kind of just talks about what we do as far as providing those resources, providing a home that has the utilities already taken care of, the homes are already furnished. And then from there, to be honest with you, they start asking questions and then they kind of start selling us, which was very shocking to me because I thought I was going to have to go through this whole spiel with them.
Well, exactly.
And it was pretty much like they were selling us on why we should partner with them.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. And just to recap, guys, so Simi was doing this before she had a property lined up or anything like that. So she was working with our coach Terrence, but you guys can totally do this on your own. You're in Atlanta, correct, Simi?
That is
So
correct.
I'm guessing, we do the meetings with kind of the larger organizations, but you probably had close to about 1,000 contacts in your CRM that we could market to, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So we're talking about homeless shelters, nonprofits, caseworkers, social service organizations. Guys, if you're in a metropolitan area, there's hundreds, if not thousands of people you could be talking to and pitching your future business to, right?
Yes.
So
Senior citizen places, assisted living, because those
yeah,
people sometimes they don't have the money to stay in those assisted living facilities. So
Bingo.
yeah.
and you
So it's
kind of answered my next question, Simi. I was going to ask, how were those calls? Were they tough? Were the people kind of hard nosed? Did they grill you?
no, no, they were like, where can we see the place today?
Yeah.
Can we do the tour today?
And Andy, I'll let you kind of riff on that as well. Was that I know that was once you kind of figured out this business and that it was legal and everything like that. That's just kind of what you focused on for like the first year or two of your business, right?
Just, yeah. I mean, it's a cookie cutter business. It's very simple, right? You get a house, you buy it or you rent it. You put beds in the rooms, start making phone calls, start sending out emails, lease it up.
Bingo. Those relationships with the organizations like Salvation Army, these nonprofits, those are going to be key. If
And it's going to
anything,
be the
didn't it?
80, right?
Yeah. And Simi, didn't it help just with the confidence, knowing that you had people to call? Didn't that give you a lot more confidence to go out and look for the property?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is very nice to kind of know what you're talking about. And the other thing that I like is any questions, that I had, any concerns, any fears, that it was nice to have somebody that I could just kind of message and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, or I don't feel like this, like I'm saying the right thing, or something is going on with my advertising. Can you take a look at it? It's just good to, kind of know that you know what you're talking about when you go out here and speak to these people. But it's not as scary as I originally in the beginning as I thought it was going to be. And people are so in that feeling of fulfillment that God told me that I would find in housing and in the community. And I now know what that feels like, because through all those other businesses, I felt accomplished, but I did not feel a feeling of fulfillment, like I was really, helping people in that manner. And when you have people just to say thank you, or we just appreciate that, you're doing this. I even had people to call and to volunteer to help us just because of what, the model of what we're doing of helping people. And I'm like, you want to volunteer to do what? Really? And they're like, yes, just because we are, so inspired by, what you're doing in the community. You're really helping people. And I mean, you're really helping people. And it just really makes a difference.
Yeah, you had mentioned I think you had mentioned Airbnb and
Yes,
there's real estate investing. What these are extremely competitive industries, right? Look up
correct.
on Airbnb, there's thousands in Atlanta, right?
That is
When you
correct.
when you were talking with those organizations, didn't you kind of get the feeling like, oh wow, I don't have any competition here?
I did feel that way. I did
Yeah.
feel that way. And also in Atlanta, in the city of Atlanta, they passed a law to where if you have an Airbnb, you can only own two. So you can own the one that you live in, and you can have people, living in there with you. And then you can own one more, and that's it. So you have a bunch of Airbnb owners who are stuck because that you can only have two. And so what are they going to do? They're going to rent them out to the one family and make that couple $100 when I can offer you 20%, over market rate rent. So it's just really a great business model. And I'm very happy that we were able to get the help that we needed to learn how to run this business.
You touched on that, kind of speaking with maybe investors who are looking at doing Airbnb, or investors who are just kind of sick of doing the managing themselves. This is
Hmm.
another very common question that we get, or objection, or just issue that a lot of people have is, even if they've done the marketing, hey, I can't find a property. So why don't we kind of dial into that a little bit? So you had done the marketing, you're working with
Hmm.
our team, you had at least a couple organizations lined up, the phone was starting to ring, and you were thinking about buying, but the market wasn't great, contracts were falling through, so you decided to maybe look into possibly leasing a property or even partnering with investors, right?
Correct. Yes.
So let's go through that. How did you start that search? Did you follow Terrence's advice, which I always advise people to do this, which is just go to those local real estate meetups?
I did. I did
How
follow his advice.
beautiful. Tell the people what that's like. Was that nerve-wracking? Was that like being on Shark Tank or anything like that?
In a way, maybe the first or the second time. that I went, because I was still trying to figure out, you know, who was in the room, and to kind of pitch the business. But once I started speaking, and they realized, the investors that I was talking to, or the realtors, they realized that, wow, this is really a good business model. It makes sense. And, there's a benefit for them, because of course, great, we're helping people, but they're investors. They want to know, okay, how much money am I going to make, and how much of a headache am I going to have to go through to deal with what you're talking about? So when I'm telling them, hey, 20% over market rate rent, you don't have to worry about your property. You can sleep at night. All you got to do is open up your phone, go to your bank account, and you'll see the check in there. I'm guaranteeing that the rent's going to be paid whether I have people in the house or not. We're going to take care of the property. We're going to take care of the landscaping, the small things in the house that you would have to concern yourself with if you went the other route, which is like the toilet breaking or something going on with the water, things like that. You don't have to worry about any of that. And on top of everything else, we're helping seniors and veterans. And it was like just all ears open, literally like 3 or 4 people just standing around like, let me get your card.
Yeah. That's it. That's why I'm always hammering people, just go to the meetups and start talking about this. I don't think I've ever spoken to a real estate investor and not at least piqued their interest. They're always like, you could tell like their eyes twinkle a little bit and they're like, wait a
Yes.
minute, what is this?
Yes, because
And
a
then
lot of them, they haven't even heard. They don't know about this. It's never
exactly,
been presented to them.
exactly. And then then when they hear the advantages of it, and it's someone super confident who's actually done the blueprint, and they are going to, they're going to be an asset like yourself. I mean, you were in the position to where if they would have just given you a property, you would have known exactly what to do and you would have been making them money, right?
Yes,
So
that's correct.
yeah, if you guys know what you're talking about, and you do handle or take care of the blueprint kind of how we suggest it, and like Simi did, you're an asset to the people. And the short answers that all of those investors had was, you are going to get zero headache, so you're going to get way less headache, and you're going to get more money. Which
Hmm.
at the end of the day, that's what everyone is going to those meetups for, right?
That is correct. They are investors.
Yeah. So all right, very, very cool. Love to hear people like yourself follow the advice to a T, and get great results from that. So I wanted to rewind a little bit. Again, I like to take these podcasts from the kind of the viewpoint, if this was someone's first podcast. So you had talked about, you previously had a rental property that you inherited, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Did that have a mortgage on it?
Yes, it did have a mortgage on
So you were cash flowing a little bit, right?
it. Hmm. Yes, that's correct. That's why, it was a couple
Well,
$100 a month.
not well, when you had the roof, that eliminated the cash flow, but
The roof killed it. And then,
yeah.
with the property management company, they're 10% every month. And on top of that, when the lease is up and we're looking for a new tenant, they charge $1,000 for to acquire a new tenant, to do the marketing and all, and to screen the new people and all that kind of stuff. So there's that $1,000.
Yeah, and
So
so that P&L for the year, when you had the roof and maybe a vacancy, I mean, was it even profitable?
no, it was not.
Yeah, so a lot of people, if they haven't actually researched real estate investing, they think that we are lying or making this stuff up. But on a good day, a good year, if there were no issues, and these are all common issues, right? Like, nothing you're saying here is crazy. We need new roofs, ACs go out, there's going to be vacancies. Like, this is very common stuff, right?
That is
But
correct.
on a good year, let's say you didn't have to replace that roof, you didn't have a vacancy, what were you cash flowing? Maybe 200 or 300 bucks per month?
Yeah, about 200 or 300, about, maybe 14, for the year, maybe 14,000 or something like that for the year.
Which is that's a quote unquote great rental property.
That's a great rental property. Exactly.
So folks, yeah, so that is the target. That's the goal for these real estate investors that we teach you guys to go and pitch this business idea to. So with the affordable shared housing model, it's a complete win-win. So Simi, Jose, they are definitely going to be helping their community, but like we said, this is a win-win-win business, right? So why don't you break down and you can generalize, Simi, but why don't you break down the difference between like that typical landlord model and then kind of how we do with the shared housing?
Okay. So for the other home, I have, you have one family in there. And like I said, once they move out, they've, unfortunately torn up the house a little bit. So you're putting a couple $1,000s in there for that. And the home, most times I don't see the house for maybe 2 or 3 years. So I have no condition. I don't know what condition the house is in until they move out or I get a message from the property management company. With the shared housing, by either the tenants paying, well, licensees, excuse me, the licensees paying either by bed or by room, the income it's instant. The numbers make sense. Jose does inspections, so we know what the property looks like. We do have, interior cameras in the common areas, so we know kind of what's going on in the house. We can, manage it a little bit more. It's just a, it's just a whole different world, and we know immediately from the tenants or whoever if we have any type of issues. But the thing is, because these people are so grateful to be in shared housing and to not be on the street, they keep the houses clean. I mean, they keep the houses clean versus we don't know what's going on over there with the rental property that has a family in it. Like I said, until they move out, and then you have $4,000 to $5,000 worth of damage that you have to repair, plus the $1,000 to acquire the new tenant. But before you can even, see any type of, if you are able to see a profit, and you would have to have so many of those homes to really create some form of wealth versus with the shared housing model, a couple of homes and I'm already making way more than what I would ever make with one or two rental properties. The same. So if I have one rental property and I have one shared housing, I'm going to make more in a year with the shared housing, thousands of dollars more than the loss that we're going to have with the rental property with the one family in there.
Yeah, we typically, again, it sounds kind of crazy when you just hear it at first, but it's usually around 10x the cash flow of a typical rental property.
Yes,
Would you say
absolutely.
yours is that ballpark kind of what you're doing as well?
Absolutely. And believe me, Brandon, when the lease is up, that house will be shared housing as well.
Yeah, so why don't you yeah, let's go into the current property. So we kind of broke down the kind of the initial steps. You signed up for our Done For You program, got through your jitters, worked with
Yes.
the team with us kind of doing the marketing so you could kind of just focus on, just getting the business set up, looking for the property, etc. And then did you find the investor? Was that through the meetups or that was like a friend of a friend type of deal? It sounded like, right?
Yeah, that was through a friend of a friend. Absolutely. That introduced me to Miss T. Yes.
So why don't let's tell the folks about that first home.
So the duplex, the very first home, it is the 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It is on a bus line, which is perfect because the majority of our licensees, they don't have a car. So, you have a bus stop that's 10 steps from the door. It does have a private parking lot as well, but so far, all of our tenants are pretty much on the bus line. And like I said, they keep the house clean. Now, for us to furnish the house, I'm going to say this. If you're not careful, you can easily go over budget. And because I have that background in creating sets, I, I I may have went over just a little bit, but it was the first house, and I wanted when we did the open house and the people come out from the organizations, I wanted them to be like, wow, I could live in here, just so that we can easily, obtain those clients. But you can easily go over budget. And I do know that going forward that we will be, hitting up the thrift stores and things like that. But it is 3 private bedrooms and one shared bedroom. So because it's a 4-bedroom. And then once we acquire the one next door, I believe we're going to do 2 shared rooms over there and 2 private rooms. So if you look at the income that just that one duplex is going to generate versus the one property with the one tenant, this business just makes sense. And again, you're able to help people, and you do have to be a people person. So you do, because you do need to go down and speak with the tenants. You know what I'm saying? You need to make sure that they're okay, make sure that they're keeping the house up, and then figure out who's going to be that house manager. I believe we just figured out who our house manager is in the duplex. And again, he came from the organization that we reached out to in January, because he's already telling us what's going on in the house, and how he cooked some chicken and he cleaned up with bleach, and he just kind of keeps an eye on everything, right, Jose?
Yep. And
Yeah,
he
that's
does a
what I
great
hear.
job at it.
I hear from clients a lot that if you even if you don't find the house manager, one will eventually just kind of step up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, very, very cool. And just to kind of break things down for the folks, you guys are seeing the beginning of, this is not just one home. Simmie and Jose are really laying out a business structure. So Simmie is the owner, CEO. What is your title, Simmie?
Executive director.
Executive director, and she's really what's your focus is probably just going to be kind of on the real estate and relationship side of things, it sounds like, right?
Yes. What the hope is our goal is we're running what we call the road to 20. So
Mhm.
our goal is to acquire 20 homes. We plan to have at least 8 to 10 up and running, hopefully by the end of this year or at least by March of 2025. My goal is to have our systems and everything in place to the point that I can kind of stay more on acquiring the real estate and creating events. So whether that be that it's an event where we're inviting some of the caseworkers out and just thanking them for, sending us clients and things like that. I really want to focus on marketing because that's kind of where I thrive, and then let Jose kind of, work where he thrives, which is, dealing with the tenants, and my other son, letting him handle the admissions. My husband, he's doing the maintenance and the landscaping. And then, let my daughter handle the VA, because what happened, Brandon, is my daughter, her husband is in the military, my stepdaughter, and she reached out to the VA in Arizona, and she told them, kind of what we were doing with Harbor Halo. And
Mhm.
they called and we did a Zoom call with them. And now they're interested in us bringing this model to Arizona and partnering with them to house the homeless veterans that are in Arizona, because there's so many of them.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, so that was just out of the
Yeah.
blue.
Yeah, well, that's again like a kind of common inquiry is someone will hear about a VA program somewhere and they're like, hey, like, how do I get started with this? we recommend casting a wide net in the beginning, exactly like Simi and Jose did. And that's when you kind of have those opportunities come to you. Is that kind of how that worked out for you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we do have landlords that are reaching out to us now as well. Like we have the investor that has a couple of homes that, he wants to partner with us on. And, once he renovates them, we'll be filling those homes up as well. So the opportunity is there. We do know, and I know you sent out an email about the fact that homelessness is now a crime. And so it's needed in our community, in majority of communities. This is a very needed service. And the opportunity is there on all ends because we're helping landlords. We're helping the organizations because they get grants to, and those grants are for them to house people. So they have to find housing, for their clients or they could lose their grant. So we're servicing the landlords, we're servicing the organizations. It's just a win-win.
It's like a win-win-win-win-win. Right?
Yes.
And anybody can and in any city in the country, you can just look outside and see how desperate the service is needed, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So road to 20. I want to break down like the structure for the folks out there, and then we'll talk about I want to hear more about the road to 20 and
Okay.
kind of what you have lined up, because I think you kind of have the pieces set up for about 4 or 5, it sounded like. So definitely want to hear about that. But we have Simi, you are the director, just kind of overseeing everything. You have that
Yes.
first property, soon to be second unit filled. You have cameras in there. You have the house manager that's kind of keeping an eye on things. And then we have Jose, who's the operational manager that's just kind of overseeing the day-to-day activities, which could
Sure.
be, yeah, Jose, why don't you break down kind of what those duties could be as an operational manager?
So it's a lot goes into it. Really being kind of like the face of Harbor Halo. I'm that warm, hand that greets them, take them through their move-in orientation. I do their inspections. I, show them the property. I do their tours. So when they're, I want to make them feel like they're at home, like they're welcome. So when they're coming in and they're seeing it, they're like, okay, I want to stay in this place. And I told my mom that, each person that I tour, they're gonna stay. And that's just like my motto as far as like getting people in there. I'm always, very warm with them. And I also conduct inspections. And now we're going to start doing things where we have like monthly meetings with all the tenants that are there so that they can get to know one another. And that's also like, bringing people together that you might, develop a friend or something that you might not have known that you ever would have met. But now because of what we're doing, you're able to have that, a future lifelong friend and things like that from a simple standpoint that you just sharing a home with them. And that's kind of, more the things that we want to do is like give people a place to stay as well as bringing people together.
Beautiful. I loved how you guys are putting your own kind of spin on things, doing the monthly
Mm-hmm.
meetings, the tours. You mentioned have it sounds like a cool onboarding process, like move-in
Yep.
inspections and paperwork and stuff like that. I love it.
Uh-huh.
So
Yep. And a lot of that comes from my background, that I've, been able to bring over into it because I've already, kind of know how to do those things. And I felt like it would make our company just a little bit different where people, it's not just here's the room, here's your keys, you just go in and get it, right? We want to make them feel like they have the entire experience, like it's a full adventure for them. And that's, the kind of feel that we want to bring to our company.
yeah, we love to see that. With the stuff in the gold course, we really try to keep it simple, just simple so people can learn
Mm-hmm.
the basics. And then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we love seeing when people put their own spin on things. And I'm sure the house guests love that. Shooting for 100% occupancy and staying as well. So that's beautiful.
Yes, sir.
Jose, so you're doing this for one property, soon to be 2 units. How many
Uh-huh.
how many properties do you think you could manage as a full-time job? Just
Um,
yourself.
Well, the goal is, like we said, is the road to 20. I believe that I'm able to do all of them. But,
Mhm.
as we continue to grow and outsource to, like other states and The idea is to eventually be global, right? Then I'll have to, look for people that have those same personalities because I want to continue that same trend so that it's a staple for our company. That when you see Harbor Halo, you know that it's like that welcomeness that you're going to get like you're going on vacation or something like that. Even though this is a place that you want to stay, you want to have that feel like when you go into like a fresh, brand new hotel room or things like that, that you feel welcome and you want to stay there. And that's, the trend that we want to set to continue throughout all of our properties.
Love it. And that's right on, again, pretty on point with what we typically say. We say, for as a full-time job, a lot of folks kind of are just kind of bootstrapping it and doing it solo. But the
Mm-hmm.
management of a business like this doesn't really become a full-time job until about 15 to 20 properties. And Jose is sharp, has a great system, as well as the family helping out. So I'm sure he could manage 20 with a breeze.
Yeah, I
With a
definitely
breeze.
believe I can. Uh-huh.
And that's the basic structure there, guys. Again, you can play around with the job titles, you can tweak it a little bit, but there's basically, you have your owner type like Simmie or Andy. You'll have the operational manager who's just managing the day-to-day activities, and every day is going to be different, right, Jose? But
Yes, sir.
it's just a lot of moving parts, a lot of people, maintenance issues, move-ins, move-outs, showing the property, stuff like that. And then at each property, you ideally have a house supervisor who's kind of like your eyes and ears. And you can go above and beyond and kind of have your electronic eyes and ears, which it sounds like you guys have kind of the like the camera security systems and stuff like that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, correct.
Yeah, and that's not only for us to monitor, but it's also for the safety of our tenants. We want to let them know that they're safe, that we constantly have eyes on the property, so they still feel like they know at all times who's in the house, that we know who's in the house, so they never have that that fear of coming home to not knowing who's on the property or anything like that. So it's also just really good for them as well.
Beautiful. Very cool. And it's only been, so the thought of this it wasn't even a year ago from the
Yes.
top, like did you started out with the gold course, I'm guessing, right?
I started off with the free course and then I purchased the gold course.
From the time you just set your mind like, all right, I'm gonna do this, how many months have gone by, would you say?
So I started, let's see, I'm gonna say maybe about 6 months.
Beautiful. 6 months, about to have 2 units filled. And we have the title of the podcast, I love, and your plan. Well, the road to 20. So
Yes.
so I'll typically ask, all right, what do you see in the next year or two? And I kind of sometimes have to pull it out of people. They haven't thought about it, but it sounds like you have a blueprint. So I would love to hear about the road to 20.
So yes, the road to 20 is, when I spoke about how I pulled out the whiteboard, because I call myself a blueprint person. So
Mhm.
if I see it, I can do it. And I like to work off of a plan. So once I started listening to you guys and, because let me just say this, I honestly thought I was going to purchase an apartment complex. And then I heard a call with you, Brandon and Andy on a Zoom where this Andy started breaking out the numbers of how you have to manage this and you got to come out millions of dollars to obtain it and all this kind of stuff. And it really just hit me like, wait a minute, let me rethink this and let me see what our profit would be if we just had 20 houses. And literally, the profit from just even 10 houses was going to be way more than what we would make dealing with the apartment complex and more headache because those are individual, once again, one family in these apartment complexes with all the maintenance and everything else and the overhead. And so the road to 20 just became, okay, if we acquire 20 homes, this will give us enough income to where, my sons can have a full time. they can kind of break off a little bit and go more into this full time if they choose to. And it will still allow us to serve the people, have enough to kind of keep acquiring homes or just kind of hold it right there for a minute and just create that generational wealth. So once we got the first home, then we started doing the numbers, and the 20 homes, just right there, it just makes sense financially for us to hit that number of 20. So we would still be in line with what it would be if we were going to acquire an apartment complex, but our profit and headache would be much less, because in an apartment complex, you're probably talking about 100, or like maybe 200 to 300 people, versus over here with the 20 homes, if we're doing 4 and 5 bedrooms, it's going to be a little bit less, and it's more manageable,
And
less overhead.
there's also gentlemen in your neck of the woods. Are you familiar with Idris?
I am. I
I
am.
know he does the meetups out there. Have you gone to them?
I have. As a matter of fact, Idris had a meetup where he was doing a tour of the homes. And so my husband and I, we actually went on the tour and met Idris, spoke with him about, our plans. And he kind of walked us through the house, gave us some numbers, and was like, you guys need to go for it and film it. Since you do film, make a documentary about it. But this is what you need to do.
Oh
And
man,
once,
and
yeah,
share
once I
that
saw
with
how,
us if you do that.
yeah, I will. And so once I saw how he had the home set up, I was like, we can do this. Like, we can literally do this. And it's a community, Brandon. Like, I actually met someone like last week, and we call ourselves Group Home Riches Sorors, because she actually went through your program as well. And so
Love it.
immediately we were like, Group Home Riches.
We got to get
So,
some t-shirts made.
yeah. So it's like a community. Once you become a part of Group Home Riches, it's like you're not taking this walk alone.
Yeah,
Regardless of which way you go, you guys have so many different avenues um, for you to get help, whether it's, joining the school, which that wasn't even available at the time that I started. It was just school. And then I learned that there was the Facebook. I wasn't around for that, but there's so many people that have been helped through your program. And so once we all meet up and we find out that we're all from Group Home Riches, it's just like a big family, because we know we're all out here helping people.
love to hear that. So you mentioned kind of the advantages and disadvantages between this and the multifamily investing. I bring up
Yes.
Idris because Andy, do you remember when we broke out the calculator and figured out how much capital someone would have had to have come up to just have the amount of cash flow in apartment investing that Idris had with the group home business? Andy, do we got you back? Maybe not. Simy, right? Okay, yeah, we still got Simy. But yeah, we did that. That's another advantage. The capital needed to invest in apartment complexes. And I'm just going off of memory, but I think Idris had around 10 group homes, 10 properties, and
Mm-hmm.
you would have needed to have like millions of dollars in cash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So think of the amount of work that you have to do to even get to that point, right?
Yeah. It's like you
So
need a lender, you need a gap funder, you need
yeah, and the capital to do this, if you did want to keep your the investment low, you really in theory you could stick with the rental model, and
mm-hmm.
we're talking, I don't know, it's less than six-figure investment, which is wild.
Yes. So the goal is to, because we already own the one home. So the goal is to kind of maybe do half and half, to where it may be more of the rentals, but we do want to have, some of the homes that we own as well, just so that we can, have that ability to be able to refinance if we need to and use that to continue to grow.
So you're thinking about maybe purchasing about half of the properties, half of the 20?
Possibly.
Okay.
Possibly. I mean, if these opportunities keep coming up, Brandon, like they are, you know, with the different landlords, we may grow faster that way, which is what Terrence, explained to me, is that you can move faster if you just go ahead and do, your sublease. But we do want to acquire, a couple of properties once the market, settles down a little bit. Right now, we're just focused on subleasing, but we, eventually we do plan to own, a couple of the properties, hopefully half and half, but at least maybe 3 or 4 of them on that road to 20.
Yeah, it really depends on your resources, situation, kind of your time that you want to put into it. But if you can, if you can, if you can combine like the real estate investing strategies of, finding off-market properties, getting them at a discount, then you have all that equity built into it from the jump. That's where you can really truly, you're going to have all that cash flow, but then on top of that, you have kind of a long-term asset as well. So
Yes. Yes.
um, love to help you out with that when the opportunity arises. And I totally understand the market. We are pretty much sitting on the sidelines as well, just waiting.
Yes.
Any day now, any day.
Yeah, any day now. Those rates are gonna go down.
So you have you have the one property, the second one is just, the other unit in the duplex. So pretty much 2 properties are basically lined up. But 20, it's not that far-fetched to do that in a year or two, I don't think, at the current pace. I know
Mhm.
you have the second unit coming on board. Why don't you break down a little bit about the other opportunities that are kind of coming online for you here in the next maybe month or two or a couple months?
Yes. So again, the lady that owns the duplex, she reached out to me and she said, hey, would you be interested in a 9-bedroom house? And I said, of course. Of course I would be. So they're in the process of finishing up a few renovations on that home. And then she's going to make that 9-bedroom home available to us to, do the group home model. And as well, we have another investor that reached out to me and he was pretty much like, I want to work with you. I'm an investor. I acquire properties. And right now I have 3 or 4 of them. Would you be interested in, using these for your group home model? And I said, of course, let me go take a look at them. So, we looked at them, we did the assessment on the homes. I kind of gave him an idea of, what he would need to renovate or repair in the homes. And the best thing about that is those homes are near the duplex. So that means Jose, can be in the area. So when he's out doing his inspections or going to the different homes, they're pretty much all in the same area. And as well, once you make relationships with realtors, then they start calling you as well when they have, people that may have houses for rent that are just kind of sitting on the market. So I had a realtor reach out to me and she set up a call with me and another investor who has some houses that are kind of just sitting on the market, and they're wanting to have a call with us to kind of have us to give them a presentation of our business model. And I'm pretty sure once they hear, what we're doing, we'll be able to secure them as well. And I believe they have about 2 to 3 houses as well that they're just not able to rent them out. I don't know if it could be because of the qualifications that they have, because with our model, we don't do credit checks. We don't, require a security deposit. We ask for a non-refundable risk fee, non-refundable risk fee. Some people call it a community fee, but we just have really, easy kind of stipulations out once you go through intake for you to come into. We're not asking you for 3.5 times the rent. and all these different things that the normal person has to go through just to get an apartment complex. So it makes it easier on the licensees versus if they're trying to find or rent a home on Zillow, then they've got to go through all of these other stipulations. So unfortunately, people are not qualifying. And now these rental houses are just sitting on the market. So when you reach out to realtors, they're more than happy to, connect you with one of their, clients who would, want to be a partner with you in this business because they're not making any money. Their house is just sitting there. So that's kind of the model that we're kind of following right now, and just connecting with people that have properties that are just sitting on the market. I want to say we want to call those motivated sellers, motivated rental properties
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, we haven't really labeled that, but
Right.
yeah, you are when you're looking for, investors to work with, you are looking for like a motivated investor. I know I've
Yeah,
done,
motivated investor.
yeah, there we go. I've done webinars when I've done it live, and I found them on Craigslist, and you can just kind of tell by the way they type, like they're not putting all into it. They're just frustrated. They're like, "Don't contact me if you don't qualify." Like you can just tell
Yes.
they're just sick of dealing with this stuff for for free sometimes, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, I like that. You're looking for motivated investors, and let's be honest, at the end of the day, look, most of them are going to be motivated if you can actually explain this to them. So
Absolutely.
so the road to 20, it sounds like realistically you could have, I mean, it sounds like maybe 5 or 6 properties very soon, right? We're just waiting for like the construction or people to move out. How long do
Yeah.
you think it'll take you to get to 20?
I'm thinking that around this time next year, July or August, I want to move as fast as possible because there's so much need and it's not getting any better. Like the way my phone starts ringing around 8 o'clock in the morning every single day, from every day, literally every day. That phone at 8 o'clock, it starts ringing. And at first I was just like, wow. And now I'm just like, I'm still like, wow, there is such a need. And they're like, I got your number from, the Salvation Army, or I got your number from your flyer from someone at my church, or I got your number from the library. And I'm like, well, how did they get it at the library?
Hey, those 1,000 contacts and the emails and the Medell reaching out to it, it's just like it's a snowball effect. So
Yes,
so
yes.
so Andy, we think in about a year we're thinking Simy and Jose will have 20 properties. They're calling it
We're shooting for August 2025.
I
beautiful.
think it's very doable if you push.
Totally. And we already have, they already have the opportunities. It sounds like about 5 or 6 properties right now kind of lined up. So,
Correct.
Yep.
hey, that's the name. The name of the episode will be called The Road to 20. I love that.
I love that. That's
So,
fantastic.
Simi, we have Andy back. I'm sure he was dealing with some real estate stuff on his end.
I was, and I actually got back right when you guys were talking about frustrated investors. So I think
Yes.
yeah,
I figured that
you know,
would
and
that would kill it
and a
there.
lot of it is not that these guys are really that frustrated. They're just busy because
Mhm.
frankly, there's only so many, assets you can take on at any one given point in time.
Correct.
We all only have 24 hours in a day, so we need to find people like you, in order to kind of offload a lot of this stuff.
Yes. And another thing that we didn't touch on is if you have to go through the eviction process, it's a whole different ball game in shared housing than if you just have a rental property and you have someone in there, you have to give them 30 days, you have to go to court. Like it's a whole different process. Just from what we do is we have them sign a voluntary move out form. I already
Hmm.
have I have some friends that are in security. So, in
I
Jose,
like that. I like that
yes,
a lot.
yes, and Jose, he's the first stop. So thank goodness, as of now, we're good. But should we have anything that arises, the first step is Jose to, let them know that this is what's going on. You've broken the rules and they've already signed the voluntary move out form. We just put a date on it. So we don't put a date on it. But if that happens, then we put a date on it, and then we just happily move them out if we have to call security. But it's a whole different situation than having to do the 30 days, the eviction, and who knows if the judge gives them a stay where you think
Yep.
because you're going to court in 30 days, you're going to have them out. And the judge is like, well, no, they need more time. And now they're in there and they're not paying rent. You already weren't
Yep.
profiting. It's just a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, and one bad apple is really going to spoil the entire bunch. So, yeah, you don't want them staying in that property.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So
So yeah,
Simi,
guys,
Simi,
it's been a great journey, you know.
lofty goals. I'll throw it to you. Do you have any questions for Andy? You have anything you wanted to pick his brain about?
Yeah, because we have these lofty goals, and and I did talk about doing purchasing the homes as well as doing the rentals. I just kind of want to know, do you think that we should continue to just focus on just a bunch of rental properties and doing subleases? Or is it a good goal for us to, let's say, do half and half or more of the rental and a couple of purchases? And what's a good strategy? That's what I'm looking for right now. It's just a good strategy to get us to that 20 by August of 2025.
Yeah, I think Terrence is correct. Right now you focus on leasing these things. Remember, Amazon doesn't own any of their warehouses. The largest companies that you can think of, they do not own their own real estate, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Terrence is absolutely correct. You're going to be able to scale faster and generate more cash flow quicker simply by finding individuals that own the real estate and then working deals with them to lease it up. Once you get your cash flow up to a pretty good sustainable level, start looking around. I'm a huge believer. I don't know if you guys saw the email that I sent out this morning, but I do believe that you want to buy the real estate if you can, and you want to
Mm-hmm.
buy it intelligently. You don't want to buy when there's a lot of greed in the market like there was in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
You want to buy when there's decent opportunity. You don't need to be buying at the depths of a recession, but like, look, right now, if a decent deal popped up and you could get locked in at 5% interest, yeah, I would say, I would tell you to do it. Because all it takes is four, five, six of those things, and you operate them over a 10-year period. Chances are, with inflation, it usually averages, call it about 7% a year. Look, you're basically doubling your asset value. So if you're buying something for 150, 10 years from now, it's probably going to be worth 225 to 350,000 bucks, plus you're paying it down. And if it doesn't double over the next 10 years, big deal. You have a business that's not going away. AI is not changing this business model. Robots are not going to come in and be caretakers. Robots are not going to be meeting with, doctors and caseworkers and healthcare workers. They're not going to do it. So this is a business that's going to be sustainable. It's going to be here 10, 15, 20 years from now, a lot longer than that. So you may as well buy the real estate if you can. So that's kind of my high level thought on it.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate that. And I believe that's what we'll do. That's kind of what we'll focus on. Because like I said, the opportunities, they keep coming, in the midst of of everything when I get the call and it's someone saying, hey, I got your card, because we have different cards. So I have cards that say need a room that we put out. And I also have cards that say looking for landlords, who want to sublease their property. So we do get those calls because I do believe in marketing. And this is what I want to say about the Done For You program, or any program. The program only works if you work the program. Like if you do what they're asking you to do. You have to make those phone calls and you have to do follow-up. And I think in the beginning, that was, something that I was kind of procrastinating on. Is I would make the calls, we would get on the phone, but I wouldn't immediately do the follow-up. But I understand now that that is the biggest part of this, is that, because they're not just sitting around thinking about us all the time. So you have to, you have to follow up with them. And so the program works if you work the program. There's only so much that Terrence could do. I literally had to, get my marketing bags together and go out and knock on some doors myself and introduce myself. Jose and I did that a couple of weeks ago, and we went to one, I think it was an East Point Housing Authority, and they were doing some building or something like that. So they actually didn't let us in the building. The lady kind of just met us at the door, and I was like, oh, okay. They didn't want to let us in, but okay, here's your flyer. And here's my bag with my little, goodies and card and brochure in there. And sure enough, last week she called, wanted to know more about the program and when we would have, some housing available, because she has more than one or two clients. So they may want to do an entire, like they would want to do the entire duplex. So, and that's just from us not, getting in the car, taking 2 hours out of a day to go out and do some marketing and put our information out there as well.
Thank you for saying it. But yes, it's again, whether it's the gold course and any of our products, and you hit the nail on the head, or anything, like not just our stuff, but if you want to do real estate investing or really any kind of entrepreneurial thing, you can totally get coaching and courses and stuff like that. It's not going to work unless you work it. So 100%. And that's why we're honestly with the we just changed it. It's the Done With You program.
Oh, okay.
Done With You.
Done with you. Got it.
Yeah. We're only looking for folks like yourself who are positive minded, who have had some success previously, who we feel are going to be successful no matter what, even if they don't work with us. I think that you guys would have figured it out on your own. We're just looking to kind of basically partner with people so we can shortcut that stuff, get the foundation rocking and rolling, and just kind of hand it over to you and let you run with it. So, but yes, you hit the nail on the head, and thank you for clarifying that for everybody.
Absolutely. It only works if you work it.
100%.
Plan your work and work your plan.
Yes.
I agree.
I think you might have missed it, Andy, but she said she's a blueprint person. So as soon as she learned about us, she broke out a big old whiteboard and
I listened to all that. That was fantastic. Yeah.
Yes, I literally have the pictures just so we can, when we're, once we've hit the 20, on the road to 20, that we can go back and look at where we started.
You absolutely have to. It's good to keep the motivation there.
Yes. And the whiteboard stays. The whiteboard, I love to pull it out, because sometimes I just have to look at it myself, because it helps me to stay motivated, because you do have those days, where things are not going like you want them to go. And that's one thing Terrence immediately asked me in the beginning was, what is your why? Like, what's going to keep you going on those days where, you're having a hard time, or you don't have that good call with the organization, or it didn't go the way you wanted it to go? What's your why? And mine is creating generational wealth and, being able to be profitable and, maintain a financial security for our family. So I love to pull out that whiteboard and look at all those houses and those numbers.
Keep staring at them. It's amazing how this stuff just, kind of becomes a reality.
Yes, absolutely. And as I told Brandon, Andy, you steered me towards not looking into apartments right now with the numbers that you put out and the work that it was going to take and
it's so much work. You have no clue. And look at all the huge apartment syndicators that are getting foreclosed on right now. They're all getting foreclosed on because the numbers didn't make sense. I mean, Brandon, who was it that we spoke with a couple of months ago where we were just doing like quick back of the envelope math? You're like, yeah, you got to plop down, $10 million to make 300 grand a year. Like, it's ridiculous.
I underestimated it, but I thought I brought you on to break that down. Actually, it was when we were talking to Adrice, which Simmie
exactly.
knows. Yeah, so Simmie's in Atlanta, and she's gone to a couple of his meetup groups. But yeah, we broke out the calculator, and yeah, I said millions. It might have been like, I guess, close to 10.
And look, those numbers are probably a little bit higher now. When I say those numbers, the net profit numbers, 10 million bucks should buy you, give or take $500,000, maybe $600,000 a year of cash flow. But even chop that number in two, and so you lay out 5 million bucks, and you've got $250,000 a year coming in. Like, is it easier to do that, to go get $5 million on your own, by the way, and make $250,000 a year, or is it easier to go set up 10 group homes? I mean, 10 group homes, way easier than going and getting your hands on $5 million. Which, by the way, you got to have $5 million of your own money. If you go get $5 million of somebody else's money, well, guess what? You're only going to make about $25,000 a year.
And you need creative financing that operate on balloon payments that are coming up apparently this year. So yeah.
And if you have these vacancies,
made the right choice.
Thank you. And I'm thinking about the vacancies because I did have an opportunity, and it was $8 million, like you're saying. And when we did the numbers, I was like, 10 group homes. We'll be making way more with less headache.
Oh my gosh, big time less headache. Big time. I mean, yeah, you definitely made the right decision. The other thing, like you said earlier on, is if you own that $8 million apartment complex, what are you going?
Andy, you muted yourself on accident, brother.
Yeah. I don't know if am I still there?
Yeah, you're back. You said if you own it, then what are you going to? And then I think you muted yourself on accident.
I had a phone call come in. What are you going to do when the CDC comes in and tells you that you are no longer able to evict people?
No.
Oh,
like,
wow.
All these onerous, ridiculous things that popped up. But guess what? If you ran group homes during COVID, it's shared housing. It specifically said in there, in that document, that if you are running any form of a shelter, which we are as group homeowners, guess what? You get rid of people still.
Wow.
Yeah,
amazing.
during the pandemic, I just didn't bring up rental properties when I was speaking with Andy or my brother.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. So it's counterintuitive to a lot of folks if they've just started to hear about this stuff, but we've kind of broken it down here to where you have all that extra cash flow, and it kind of gives you the freedom to put these systems in place to actually make the management of it just kind of way less headache than just dealing with individual quote unquote qualified tenants. So
absolutely.
like we
and
said,
we're in the beginning, we're still learning and growing and making mistakes and cleaning it up, but overall the program that you guys set out, it just really lays everything out. And having you guys to kind of fall back on, even during the Zoom calls, just to be able to ask questions, it just really is very helpful, and it just made this process so much easier. And I'm very thankful, to finally know what my real purpose is and to be able to walk in that purpose.
Well, hey, you're people like you guys, Simy, Jose, you guys are the reason the reasons that we do this. We love to see people take what we put out there, run with it, help their community and help themselves as well. Get set up as you mentioned, you're getting set up for generational wealth here for your family and as well, just huge asset to the community as well. So we absolutely love to see it. So I think we could talk with you guys all day, but
Yes.
I think we'll save it for part two about
Okay.
about a year for now after you've opened your
Hit number 20.
When
Yeah,
we hit number 20, we're gonna have a party and celebrate.
I like that.
absolutely. We'll call it the road to 100 in that
Yes.
episode.
I
So,
love it. I love
all
it.
right, beautiful. So, Simi, why don't you let the folks out there know, where they can reach you and where they can check your stuff out?
Okay, so if you want to know more about our company, we also do referrals. So if there's, sometimes if our house is not full and we get, someone that calls us and we've done the intake and we have a client, we can refer them out to, our community partners. And as well, any questions or anything like that, you can reach us at harborhalo.com. That's our website, www.harborhalo.com. Our social media is all at harborhalo.com. And you can also email us at info@harborhalo.com.
Put that in the description for folks. Do you have any parting words for the folks out there, Simi?
I do. I just want to say it feels scary at first. It feels daunting, but there is a need for our services. There's somebody right now that's waiting for you to call and let them know that you have these services available for their clients. And, just believe in the process, follow what is in the group home riches in the gold course, or, join the school, ask questions, be present, and it will all just start to fall into place. I know it's scary at first. I can tell you because I was there, but the process does work. And the payoff of somebody just telling you, thank you, and to be able to provide for your family and see, that you're profiting in a business that is serving the people. It is so worth it. So don't be scared. Just go for it.
Love it. Jose, thank you for joining us, man, and giving people an inside glimpse of the kind of operational manager side of things. Do you have
No
any
problem.
parting words for the folks out there?
Yes, if you don't know what your future holds for you, or you don't have any direction, I would say just continue to trust God and, continue to pray. And as soon as the opportunity seems like it might be scary at first or might be something that you're unsure about, you should just jump on it and take it, because you never know where, God is trying to place you, because we all have a purpose. And once you find that purpose and you're able to love doing it, then you can feel that fulfillment that you've been looking for. So I would say just chase those opportunities and just stay positive and speak highly of yourself and continue to live and manifest, the future that you want for yourself, and it'll come to you.
I love it. Andy, they're pretty much saying our parting words better than we do, but
Yes, absolutely. I echo all those sentiments right there.
well, thank you everybody for joining us. Andy, Jose, Simi, cannot wait for the part two. For folks listening out there, if you just kind of stumbled on our stuff, definitely head over to grouphomeriches.com, sign up for the free material. You can email us for free. You can check out all of our free content. You could probably learn this stuff from our free content at this point. Ton of stuff on YouTube, all under grouphomeriches.com. We have a school group, which we've mentioned. Simmie, very active in there. The coaches. We have over 2,000 people at the time of recording, and as Simmie mentioned, it's just a community. So you are not in this alone. Throughout the whole process, you can just pop into school, and you'll have thousands of people there ready to help you. And then we have an assortment of products. We have our gold course. coaching and then the Done With You program. Simmie was a member of. Thank you so much for coming on and showing that story, Simmie, to give the folks an inside glimpse into what that's like. And you guys are seeing the profile of the people that we're looking to work with. Super positive minded. You're going to be proactive. A little bit of success previously. I believe success shows clues. So if you had some success in previous endeavors and you really have your heart set on this and you kind of want to partner with our team, we are looking for select few to work with the Done With You program. So that is our time. Cannot wait to hear the story after the road to 20. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much,
You
Brandon
too.
and Andy. Thanks for
We'll
having
speak
me.
next time.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
My pleasure.
Bye.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.